In this video, we'll be going through all the ways in which Serene Fire Luxem Zander will attempt to close out the game with their Luxem cards in hand. This video is intended for newer Luxem players to kind of know what their playlines are. However, I expect any Grand Archive player to also gain value from this video by knowing what the breakpoints are and how much damage that a Luxem Zander player can deal with certain cards in hand. Now, with Luxem Zander, typically the playline is we hit level 3 and we can start accruing massive value each turn simply by playing the game. If we can fog you for a turn and we have Lightweaver's Assaults in our memory, you are on a clock. You are taking 2 damage, if not 4 damage every single turn until you are dead. However, a Luxem Zander player will probably attempt to kill you before that time passes with one of these following combos. Now, the first breakpoint that most people are aware of is Lightweaver's Assaults played on the stack with each other. So, if I have 2 Lightweaver's Assaults and 10 cards in hand, what I can do is I can pay 4 to cast a Lightweaver's Assault, and I will pay 4 to cast another Lightweaver's Assault. What ends up happening here is that both Lightweaver's Assaults will reveal a total of 8 cards in memory, and they will deal a total of 8 damage each. This is non-targeting, non-spell damage, so it does go through Spell Shroud, and it is also at fast speed. So the Zander player can potentially do this in your recollection before you can materialize a Safeguard Amulet as it's on the stack. So know that when a Zander has 10 cards in hand, they can access potentially 16 points worth of damage at fast speed. Now, while that isn't a humongous amount of damage, also know that typically what will happen is that on their recollection, they will be dealing 4 damage to you with Lightweaver's Assault, drawing up to 10, passing turn or attempting to kill you immediately, and then that's 4 damage plus 16, that's 20 damage. If they wait a turn or if they have another way to add the damage, that could be 24 damage, that could be just enough to kill you. So once Zander hits 10, it's almost always going to be lights out unless you have a way to stop them. However, hitting 10 with a level 3 deck, even a level 3 turbo deck, can sometimes be rather challenging, so Zander players have other ways to close out the game. Let's say we don't see both copies of Lightweaver's Assault, and we only have one copy of Lightweaver's Assault. If we have access to Striking Illuminance, what we can do is we can pay with 2 cards for Striking Illuminance prepared with 2 prep counters, 4 cards for Lightweaver's Assault. What will happen here is we'll pay for Striking Illuminance, rest Zander, and say, I'm playing Striking Illuminance prepared. Would you like to interact with this? Do you have a way to stop this? Do you have like a Frostbind or something? If Striking Illuminance is allowed to go to resolve, it will go to move to intent, and it'll trigger the on attack with 4 damage in intent. In response to the on attack, the Zander player can then play 4 and play Lightweaver's Assault. What happens in this sequence is Lightweaver's Assault is going to reveal our memory and deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points of damage. This is 6 points of damage. However, Striking Illuminance is going to trigger and see that we have X number of Luxem in our memory. Here we have an example, we have way too many Luxem, but typically you might see 2 or 3. Let's say we have 2 Luxem in our memory at this time. Striking Illuminance is going to see 2 Luxem, and it's going to gain 2 damage to the intent. Lightweaver's Assault, after it resolves, does 4 damage. Striking Illuminance is going to resolve, revealing all cards in our memory again. It'll show these 2 Luxem again. It's going to add another 2 points of damage to our intent. So in total, Lightweaver's Assault has done 6 damage. Striking Illuminance will do 8 damage because it's 4 plus 2 plus 2 again. So typically, if a Luxem player is revealing their memory to you every turn, you can actually calculate their reach by saying, okay, you have 8 cards in hand, you have Striking Illuminance, you have Lightweaver's Assault, you have 2 prep counters. How many Luxem do you have? Then you can start doing some math, because what this combo line represents is 10 plus 2x. 6 raw damage from this, 4 raw damage from this, and 2 times the number of Luxem that they have available to them, assuming that the Luxems also do not have effects. If this were a Light Weaver's Assault, it would flip twice and it would also do you 4 damage. So that's how you can quickly do math. You can just remember 10 plus 2x. If your Zander opponent has 8 cards in hand and has shown you like these 2 cards plus an X number of Luxem cards, you know what's coming. You can prepare for this. The worst thing that could possibly happen in this scenario is after I declare all of these effects, I get Song of Frosted, which literally just ends the combat phase and kind of destroys everything, and the Zander player is very sad at that point. But that is essentially going for combo at 8 influence. So now you know that at 10 influence, it represents 16 points of damage of fast speed. You also know that at 8 influence, it represents 10 plus 2x points of damage. Can be as low as just 10 damage, can be as high as 20 damage. Well, not 20 damage. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 10 is 22. It could be as high as 22 damage, but that's rarely going to happen. So you can kind of calculate and figure out what your damage thresholds are from there, but also keep in mind a skilled Luxem player is not going to just employ the cards in their hand, but also from the Regalia in order to reach these breakpoints. If a Luxem player has 8 cards in hand, and you know that they have 8, as their turn begins, they could potentially materialize a Grand Crusader's Ring. That draws them up to 9. For their turn, they draw up to 10. And suddenly they could represent the full Light Weaver's Assault double wombo combo package, going from 8 to 10. However, a Luxem player can also say, okay, did you hit me to 16 last turn? If I'm at 16 points of damage, what I could do is I could use Light Weaver's Assault to ping myself. I can use Juggle Knife to ping myself. I can deal damage to myself to hit 20, materialize a Chalice of Blood, and banish that to hit a breakpoint. So you have to be wary that the Luxem Zander player has those options, but it's not just 10 cards, 16, 8 cards, 10 plus 2x. There's also another thing you have to worry about is if you let a Zander player ever get to 13 influence, what they can do, and I've only done this a couple of times in very slow matchups, is pay 2 for Striking Luminance. As it moves to intent, hold priority. As it moves to intent, in response to the on-attack trigger, Light Weaver's Assault. In response to Light Weaver's Assault, Light Weaver's Assault. In this case, each Light Weavers, as they reveal, will be dealing 10 points of damage by revealing your memory. That's 20 damage right there. Your Striking Luminance is going to deal 4 damage plus 3 times the Luxem in memory. And as you can see, that kind of gets out of control. So if your Luxem Zander opponent has 13 cards in hand and they've been able to filter through the game, you're kind of cooked unless you have some sort of really good interaction. But also what's going to happen is that they're going to put your hand into your memory because of Zander's effect. And it's going to be very difficult for you to combat that. Unless you're Tamer and you get to Song of Frost by banishing a float from grave. You can do that. That's kind of disgusting, but you can do that. So now you know 10 cards, 16 damage. Now you know 8 cards, 10 plus 2x damage. But there's also other breakpoints that Luxem can do in order to kind of surprise you out of nowhere. For example, let's say we're at 6 cards. We're not at 8, we're not at 10, we're at 6. How would this look like? No, it would have to be like that, right? I think I might need one more. Let's say I'm at 7. What a Luxem Zander player could do, for example, during the course of the game, they're going to bring out potentially an Insignia of the Kohazi. This is a very good card because what it does is it allows us to put cards in our memory without actually putting cards in our memory, without actually playing a card to do so. But what's interesting here is the second line. When I activate a prepared card while my influence is 6 or less, draw a card into your memory. So let's say I have 6 cards in my hand, and you don't know what they are for obvious reasons. 6 cards in hand as my turn begins. Let's say I either materialize Insignia this turn, or I already had it on board. As my turn begins, I draw my 7th card. No, we don't see that. What a Luxem Zander player could do at this point is they could potentially pay 2 in order to Thieving Cut prepared. Thieving Cut prepared, assuming it hits, is going to deal 3 damage to you and draw a card. And then from there, the Zander player can play for Lightweaver's Assault. Oh, sorry, I missed a step. It's actually better than that. My apologies. Paying 2, Thieving Cut. 4 in hand, 2 in memory. Thieving Cut is attempting to resolve, but also because Insignia sees that I have 6 cards in hand, Insignia is going to trigger first. It says, okay, you have activated a prepared card, you have 6 influence, you can draw a card into your memory. Now Thieving Cut's going to resolve. And then, sorry, it's a bit messy, into memory. Now Thieving Cut's going to resolve, and I get to draw a card into my hand. And from there, I can then resolve Lightweaver's Assault. This line took 7 cards. However, I was at 6 influence at the beginning of my turn, and now I'm resolving Lightweaver's Assault for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, and Thieving Cut for 3 damage. So from 6 influence at the beginning of the turn, I am representing 10 damage. Sometimes that's just enough to secure a kill. So this is a Thieving Cut line. It's actually rather slow. It's not that great, to be very honest with you, but what is great is if you change Thieving Cut for Planet Explosives. So Planet Explosive, if you don't know, can also be prepared to deal 4 damage. But what you can do is before Recollection, you can pay for Planet Explosives, and if I have like only 4 cards in hand at that point, I would also get a draw off Insignia of the Kohazi to draw into memory. And then what's cool is that I draw that card. Like, because I haven't recollected yet, I actually gain that card. That allows me to play out my turn with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in hand. Theoretically, I could do the same line that I did before with a Thieving Cut here with my 7th card and just do the Thieving Cut Insignia thing all over again. And I could do a crazy combo that way. Otherwise, know that an opponent, a Luxem Zander, with 8 cards in hand, at fast speed at any point in time, what they can do is they can pay for Lightweaver's Assault, and in response to their own Lightweaver's Assault, pay 2 and Planted Explosive. What's going to happen here, assuming you prepare the Planted Explosives, is Insignia is going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards in memory. It's actually going to draw 1 card into memory, and then resolve the Planted Explosives, dealing 4 damage, and then resolve the Lightweaver's Assault, dealing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. That's a total of 11 damage. That's not a lot, is it? It's not a lot. But the thing is, this is at fast speed, meaning that I can do this in response to things. I could kill you on the stack. Well, typically what I can do is I could make them think that I don't have the reach, and then they're going to respond on my end step. Maybe they think, oh, they didn't attempt to kill me, or I could do something proactive here. They play something and I say, oh, I caught you. I could then do this at fast speed and kill them while they're like thinking that I'm still a ways off. I could even do this on your end step, because if I have another Lightweaver's Assault in memory, I've just dealt 11 damage to you. I've drawn another card from Insignia, and I'm ready to do another 2 points of damage plus more on my turn. And I'm kind of splitting up my damage into 2 turns, kind of a thing. So that's a possibility as well. And lastly, we can't forget that the new WoW package gave us access to Liminal Guide and Undying Dreams. While this isn't a consistent combo line in itself, what's good to know is that Liminal Guide often comes onto the field ephemeral, and a lot of the time they might live to see a couple of turns, because when you're trying to pressure a Zander player, either you just completely give up pressure, or you want to hit them as much as possible, in which case you're not hitting the Liminal Guide because they have 3 health. If a Liminal Guide stays with ephemeral, what a Zander player could potentially do is they could actually pay for Lightweaver's Assault, but also pay to use Undying Dreams, targeting their Liminal Guide. What ends up happening here is Lightweaver's Assault is going to see 6 cards, which does 6 damage, but Undying Dreams is going to make Liminal Guide a 3/5 for that turn, and they can swing in for 3 damage. That's 9 damage with just 6 cards. So typically when when you're playing against Fire Luxem Zander, you can think that they can start doing tricky things at 6 influence. Just 6 influence, they can start doing things, but even without doing things, they have access to Regalia that can net them to 8 influence, where they can Striking Luminance you. They can even potentially go to Chalice of Blood and go to 8 or 10 influence. They could flip Gleaming Cut in the middle of a combo to get more value. They can uncover the plot, double Gleaming Cut, suddenly hit an influence level that you didn't expect and then kill you out of nowhere. And once you're hitting 10, you have to worry about 16 damage at fast speed. Once they hit 13, you're kind of cooked if they have the right cards in hand. So that's the video on how Luxem Zander will attempt to kill you and what kind of breakpoints you need to be wary about, and just kind of how you combat and know these lines. And with that, hope you have a great day. This has been One Trick Luxem. I'll see you next time.